yesterday when I did a live for a little bit, somebody gave me this idea, and I don't know if this is something anybody even wants to watch for sure, but I think that it might have some interest, maybe, just because I thought it was an interesting topic. So these are my tips for high school, like if you are a student in high school. So what are some of my tips for people that might be going into high school, finishing up high school? It's been a few decades since I was in high school, but here are some of my tips. I'm going to give you tips from an introverted perspective. So my first tip is you do not have to try to be social, and you do not have to try and join clubs. I was in clubs in high school. I was in a club called Friday Night Live. But if I could do it again, I probably wouldn't have, because I was more of an introverted kid. And I know college, like acceptance letters, make you think that you need to be social and you need to have all these extracurricular activities. But as life has gone on, you really don't need to do those things. Extracurricular activities are good if you want to participate in them. Like if you're more of an introverted kid, you're gonna get your extracurricular activity in, I don't know, like sports or playing an instrument or doing something like that. I don't know. Or maybe you do charity work for your church, and maybe that has a social component to it. So at school, I was in one group. Kind of wouldn't recommend it again, because I think if I could do high school again, not that I regret anything I did, but I would have just been more true to myself. Like I was always just more of like wanting to do things on my own. But I felt after a while I didn't like being in that Friday Night Live group, so I stopped going to it because it didn't seem very structured. And I thought, oh, in groups we're going to do all sorts of things. Like I thought we were going to have these grandiose things we were going to do. And the same for college. Like I was in a couple of honor societies in college, and we never did like volunteer work or anything for the community. Like we went to the filming of a show. So if you're more of an introverted person, you can get into college. You could even go to community college. You can take online classes. There is a place for introverted people in 2024, and there was 20 years ago. But I think extroverted society makes people think that they need to be in groups and participate in things. So my first tip for if you're in high school and you're more of an introverted kid and you don't want to join groups, that's okay. You don't have to. Yes, I give you permission. That might go counter to something, like if you're more of an introverted kid and your parents are more extroverted, that might go counter to what they're recommending for you, but that's okay. I think you should talk to your parents about it and explain to them that you don't want to be in social groups. You could have an extracurricular activity outside of school, like, I don't know, if you play a sport, or if you play an instrument, or you're involved in your church or mosque, I don't know. Or maybe you just enjoy going home and doing art. You don't have to explain yourself to the more like socially motivated classmates. And that's going to be my second tip. Try to not acquiesce to social pressure in school, because I feel like when you're a kid, and I'm not talking about little kids, but I'm talking about teenagers, adolescents, people in high school between the ages of 14 to like 18. I mean, I guess some high school kids are older than that, but I think most high school people generally are 14 to 18. Like, if you are sick of peer pressure and you don't like the way that your peers act, and I get that, and this is from a very introverted perspective, this video. I was the kid that wanted to go home and walk my dog and read books and do my homework and clean the house and watch a show. I didn't want anything to do with like the more social scene. I didn't like peer pressure. I mean, there were kids, especially in the 90s, with millennials, like I was talking about yesterday, the tail end of Generation X into millennials, who would go out and party. Like, the helicopter parent wasn't a thing. I don't know. Like, nowadays, I just get the vibe. I don't think as many kids are doing that. Like, I don't think as many kids as parents are going off for the weekend and they're having some wild party where they get in the liquor cabinet. Like, kids used to do that when I was in school. They used to go to these different places and drink. It was well known. That was underage. People knew about it. I mean, I'm not saying these things don't happen nowadays, but I think, yeah, there's still pressure, I'm sure, but stay away from it. Stay away from all of that. Drinking's bad all around anyway. I'm going to just be straight up honest with you. I don't think you benefit at all from drinking, ever, at any time. Like, there's no benefit. You don't get anything out of it. I know that's not going to align with somebody who's a wine connoisseur, but I'm not a wine connoisseur. Plus, I enjoy, if I want to drink a beverage, a nice, sweet, sparkly Pellegrino, okay? That has like a orange flavor to it. I don't want, like, to participate in the social pressure to drink or do substances. Like, I think when kids are young, they're surrounded by other kids who are not emotionally developed, and they think it's cool to do something, well, when I was younger, what they saw in a movie or in a magazine, or just their older siblings do. Or now it's like social media. Just because other people are doing it doesn't mean you should do it. In fact, you shouldn't. If you're more introverted, like, you have my permission to focus on your schoolwork, to focus on introverted pursuits. If you don't want to be a social butterfly and you don't want to join clubs and you don't want to give in to social pressure, like, I actually talked to my sister about this yesterday because I was comparing, and we had a very different, radically different high school experience. Like, she was much more social. She was around kids who did the party thing. Like, she didn't really do it like some of them did, but she would go to parties and they saw things happen. And I never went to a party in high school because I don't know, I just wanted to stay at home and be with my dog. And those were my best memories. And I still have memories of lady dogs. So stay at home with your dog. Stay at home with your cat. Read a book. Watch a show. Do your homework. Learn something new. You don't need to acquiesce to all this social pressure. It's not important, okay? You don't need to date until you're 18. No, you don't. I know that's a big thing in high school, but you have your whole life to do that. And I think a lot of young people let those decisions, like, impact their life and their mindset. You can just focus on yourself in school and being young. You should be young when you're young, in my opinion. And if you're more of an introverted person, embrace that. And I feel that's one of the benefits now, actually, to our more modern era with social media. I feel like people that are more introverted kind of can come together online and form communities, encourage people, like, to be themselves. So, like, you don't have to join social groups. You don't have to acquiesce to peer pressure. You should do your schoolworks, get good grades in school, go to tutoring sessions at school. You want to get good grades. Even if you're not going to a 4-year university, you could still go to community college. And if you're learning good academic skills, these will help you when you get to college. Like, you don't want to be in your first community college class and you can't write a paper properly because in high school you were playing around. Like, you don't want to do that. You want to make your time count, and it's worth, plus, once you learn that you enjoy, like, disciplining yourself to, like, do your research at the library, to get your books for your paper, to write the paper, it feels like an accomplishment, and it will be a great tool that will help you in the future when you start to apply for jobs. So I just say, focus on school, focus on being a happy child, not child, but teenager. You don't need to acquiesce to people that want to do bad stuff at school, you know? You don't need to be dating. Like, if you're under 18, you don't need to date. Like, why? Why does anybody under 18 need to be dating? They don't. But, you know, I'm going to be honest with you. I think everybody needs to be more picky in that department anyway, because you should prize, like, your happiness is the most important thing, and someone who doesn't value you to the nines, they're not important, okay? Always put yourself first. So those are my tips for people that are in high school. Thanks for watching. If you like it, like it.